All right, let's do this.
Ever feel like work could be more than just, a place you go to every day?
Mm.
Like, what if it was more like a real community?
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at today, like how companies can actually become those spaces, where everyone feels connected and engaged and driven by a shared purpose.
Mm.
It's about going beyond the traditional corporate structure
Yeah.
and seeing how the power of community can really unlock potential both for individuals and for the organization itself.
It really is a fascinating shift.
Yeah.
More and more organizations are recognizing that fostering a strong sense of community can actually give them a real edge over their competitors. It's all about creating an environment where people feel like they belong, and they're not just employees, but, active participants invested in the same goal.
So we're not just talking about free snacks and ping pong tables, right?
No.
This is deeper.
This goes way beyond superficial perks. It's about creating a culture of trust and respect and shared ownership. Think about it, that's how a strong community thrives, right? People need to feel safe to contribute their ideas and to take risks and to support each other.
Okay, so how do we take those community aspects and translate them into a corporate setting?
Well, one organization, Soul.com, really emphasizes that human relationships have to be the foundation. They say that prioritizing authentic connections needs to be built into the company culture. It's about recognizing that we're all human beings with individual needs and aspirations and creating an environment where those needs are respected.
Yeah, that makes sense. You can't have a strong community without genuine connection. But how do you do that when deadlines are right around the corner and everyone's focused on their individual tasks?
Well, that's where the idea of action-based learning comes in. Soul.com actually suggests that companies move away from the traditional top-down training and go with a more hands-on approach. So instead of just sitting through a lecture, imagine you're working on a real project with your team. So you're learning by doing and, building skills and relationships at the same time. That shared experience and sense of accomplishment can really bring people together.
Yeah, I can definitely see how that would create a sense of camaraderie and ownership. It's not just about absorbing information. It's about actively contributing and creating something together. It feels much more empowering,
Exactly. And that feeling of empowerment is critical. When people feel like they have a voice and that their contributions are valued, they're more likely to be engaged and invested in the community's success. This is actually something that Interlock Consulting, another organization that focuses on this community approach, really emphasizes in their work with companies. They talk a lot about participatory engagement, giving everyone a seat at the table and involving them in decision-making processes.
Okay, so we're seeing how this community concept can really have an impact on individual engagement. But let's face it, most companies are driven by the bottom line. So where's the benefit for the business?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. Interlock Consulting has found that companies that build strong communities often see a real improvement in their performance. They've seen companies enter markets faster, experience significant cost savings, and even become more innovative.
So it's not just about good vibes and warm, fuzzy feelings. It actually affects profits.
Exactly. And it goes back to that idea unlocking human potential. When people feel connected and valued and empowered, they're more engaged, they're more productive, and they're ultimately more successful.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you create an environment where people feel supported and invested in the company's success, they're more likely to go above and beyond.
Absolutely. And Interlock Consulting is very clear that this move towards a community mindset needs to be more than just talk. It has to be embedded in the company's values and reflected in everything they do.
So it's not enough to just put a mission statement up on the wall.
Right.
You have to walk the walk.
Companies that truly build thriving communities make sure their values are a part of everything they do. It's about creating a consistent experience for everyone, from employees to customers to partners.
This all sounds great in theory, but what about the essential elements? What are the core ingredients that make a corporate community thrive?
Well, both Interlock Consulting and Soul.com point to several key factors. First and foremost, you need a positive culture, one that encourages open communication, respect for diverse perspectives, and a genuine commitment to collaboration. It's not just about being nice, it's about actively addressing conflict in a constructive way and creating a safe space for people to share their opinions.
So you're saying it's about making sure people feel heard and respected even when there are disagreements.
Absolutely. It's about healthy debate and seeing differences of opinion as opportunities for growth and innovation. And on that note, another essential ingredient is a balance between what Interlock Consulting calls masculine and feminine leadership qualities.
Ooh, Okay, that's interesting. I have to admit, I'm not really sure what that means in practice. Can you break that down for me?
Sure. It's about moving beyond those traditional hierarchical leadership models
Hmm.
and embracing qualities like empathy and vulnerability and collaboration, along with those more traditional leadership traits like assertiveness and decisiveness. It's really about creating an environment where everyone feels seen and heard and valued no matter what their position is or what their personality is like.
That's a pretty interesting concept. It seems like that would require a pretty big mindset shift for a lot of leaders. It's not about holding on to power, it's about empowering others.
Exactly. And that leads into another key element, shared values. It's not just about the company coming up with a set of values and forcing them down on people. It's about making space for people to bring their own values to the table and finding that sweet spot where individual passions align with the company's mission.
Yeah, I see how that would create a much deeper sense of connection and purpose. People are definitely more likely to be invested if they feel like their work is in line with their personal values.
Hmm.
But how do you make sure that everyone's on the same page, especially in a large organization?
That's where the concept of alignment comes in. It's about making sure that everyone in the community is moving in the same direction and that individual efforts are aligned with the company's overall vision and goals. It's about connecting those day-to-day tasks with the bigger picture.
So just having a vision statement up on the wall isn't enough. People actually have to understand how their work connects to that vision.
That's right. And it's not just about communicating that vision from the top down. It's about making space for dialogue so people can share their perspectives and everyone understands what the company is aiming for.
So it's conversation, not a dictate.
Exactly. Alignment is something that you cultivate through constant communication, feedback, and shared experiences. It's about making sure there's a back and forth between the individual and the collective, and making sure everyone feels connected to the bigger purpose. And speaking of a bigger purpose, before we move on, I think it's important to highlight something really crucial.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
What else is key to building these thriving communities?
Well, it's about recognizing that building a thriving community isn't just an internal thing. It can actually have an impact that goes far beyond the company itself.
Oh, wow. That's a really interesting thought. How so?
Well, think about it. When people feel like their work has a real purpose and that they belong, that positive energy can spread to how they interact with customers and suppliers and even their local communities.
So it's about creating a positive impact that goes beyond just, profits and shareholders.
Yeah. Exactly. It's about businesses being good citizens and, contributing to the well-being of society. And building a strong community within the company can actually help them do that.
I see how all these pieces fit together now. Creating a community feeling internally can empower people, boost performance, and even create a ripple effect of positive change in the world.
Exactly. Absolutely. And this is where the idea of shared leadership comes in. It's something that's becoming more and more important in companies that are adopting this community model.
Okay, shared leadership. I've heard the term, but I'll be honest, it's a little vague to me. Does it mean everyone gets to be the CEO?
No, not exactly. It's not about getting rid of hierarchy completely. It's more about spreading out leadership responsibilities and giving people at all levels the power to step up and use their skills and experience.
So instead of decisions always coming from the top leadership, can come from different places depending on what's going on. It's more like a network than a pyramid, I guess.
That's a great way to think about it. In a traditional hierarchy, information and decisions usually flow from the top down. But in a community-based model, it's more fluid and flexible, like a web where everyone is connected and leadership just kind of pops up naturally depending on the situation.
Okay, I like that. It sounds much more dynamic and responsive to change. But wouldn't some people be worried that shared leadership could cause chaos or confusion? How do you make sure everyone is accountable and still working towards the same goals?
That's where alignment and a clear sense of purpose are really important. Remember, we talked about connecting those day-to-day tasks with the overall vision. In a company with shared leadership, that alignment needs to be even stronger because you have more people making decisions on their own.
Right. So everyone needs to be on the same page about where the company is going and how their work fits into that. But wouldn't that require a ton of communication and trust?
Absolutely. Transparency and open communication are the foundation for making shared leadership work. And that trust piece is essential. It's about believing in your colleagues and their judgment, giving them the power to make decisions, and being there to support them if they make mistakes.
It sounds like creating that kind of environment would require a big cultural shift for a lot of companies. But the potential benefits seem pretty impressive.
They are. Shared leadership can make companies more agile and innovative, and it can really boost employee engagement. But there's another aspect of this that I think is worth mentioning.
Okay, I'm curious. What else does shared leadership bring to the table?
Well, in a traditional hierarchy, leadership is usually seen as something that comes with your position. You're a leader because of your title or where you are on the org chart. But in a community, leadership is more about influence and expertise.
So you don't need a fancy title to be a leader.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that leadership can come from anyone in the company. It could be the person who's been there the longest and really knows how things work, or it could be the newest person on the team who brings fresh ideas and a new perspective.
That's pretty empowering. It means that anyone, no matter what their job title is, has the potential to step up and lead in their own way.
That's right. And it goes back to that idea of unlocking human potential. Shared leadership gives people a chance to discover and develop their leadership abilities in a more natural and authentic way. It's not about forcing people into specific roles. It's about giving them a space where leadership can just happen.
This makes sense in theory, but I'd be curious to see how this plays out in the real world. Are there any companies out there that have actually implemented shared leadership and seen some real benefits?
Absolutely. There are tons of organizations that have tried this approach and are getting amazing results. In fact, one company that comes to mind immediately is Morningstar. They're the world's largest tomato processor, and they've actually gotten rid of all management hierarchies and operate as a self-managed organization.
Whoa, no managers at all. That's kind of radical. How does that even work?
It's all based on the idea of individual responsibility and freedom. At Morningstar, they call employees colleagues, and instead of reporting to a boss, they make commitments to each other. Teams organize themselves, colleagues negotiate responsibilities, they set their own goals and hold each other accountable.
So it's a completely flat structure. But how do they keep things running smoothly and make sure that everyone is working towards the company's goals?
It really comes down to having a clear purpose and a strong culture of trust and accountability. Every colleague at Morningstar has a really well-defined mission, and they know how their work contributes to the company's success. They have all the information and resources they need to make decisions on their own, and they can solve problems and come up with new ideas without having to go through layers of management.
That's amazing. Yeah. It seems like a really mature and responsible way to work. But wouldn't that require a very specific type of person, someone who's super self-motivated and okay with things not always being clear-cut?
Yeah, you're right. It definitely takes a certain mindset and a willingness to take ownership. But what Morningstar has found is that when you give people the freedom and trust to manage themselves, they often step up to the challenge. They're more engaged, they get more done, and they come up with more creative solutions because they feel a real sense of ownership over their work.
That makes sense. It's like the difference between being told what to do and doing something because you really believe in it.
Exactly. And this brings us back to the whole idea of community that we've been talking about. At Morningstar, the company is seen as a community of colleagues, all working together towards a common goal. There's a huge emphasis on collaboration, communication, and mutual respect.
It sounds like they really live and breathe that community mindset, not just as a trendy buzzword, but as a way of doing business.
They really do, and it's clearly working for them. Morningstar has consistently done better than its competitors in terms of efficiency, productivity, and profitability. They're also known for having really happy employees and low turnover rates.
So they're showing everyone that building a thriving community can lead to both human and business success. It's pretty inspiring to see a company that actually walks the walk.
It is. And it reminds us that we don't have to settle for the way things have always been done. We can create work environments that are more humane, more fulfilling, and more aligned with our values.
This has been such a great deep dive. We've covered so much about corporate communities, from the importance of shared vision and values to the potential of shared leadership.
Yeah, and we've seen that it's not just about feel-good initiatives or fluffy concepts. It's a completely different way of thinking about work and relationships.
It's about recognizing that people are at the heart of every business and making sure they feel connected, valued, and empowered to be their best selves.
And at the end of the day, it's about creating organizations that are not only successful, but also make the world a better place.
So before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about. If you could redesign your workplace to make it feel more like a thriving community, what would be the very first thing you'd do? What small change could you make today to start building stronger connections and a sense of shared purpose?
And remember, building community is an ongoing process. It's not a finish line. Every step you take, no matter how small, can make a difference.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We hope it's given you some new ideas and inspired you to explore the power of community in your own work life.